Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's jump straight into valuing values in action. Today we're taking a really fascinating journey through a deeply reflective text to uncover some genuinely actionable philosophies. We're talking resilience, accountability, and the surprisingly fluid nature of our personal values. This isn't just a list of rigid rules. It's more like an introspective map for finding your way back to yourself when the world gets a bit too noisy. We're going to look at how we shift from simply having values to actually actively living them. So, let's get into it.
Right off the bat, let's skip the small talk and confront something we've all felt at one point or another. How exactly do we end up totally lost? It's that sheer disorienting vulnerability we all face when life gets uncertain. You're just cruising along, and suddenly, you look around and realize you feel completely disconnected from your own path.
The author frames this feeling perfectly, describing it as being trapped within walls of unpredictability. Just think about that imagery for a second. Unpredictability isn't just some wide-open, confusing field. It can feel like actual walls closing in on you. It's like your GPS suddenly completely failing in a city you don't know at night. You get that instant, sinking feeling of being boxed in and isolated. So how do we navigate our way out of that when we feel restricted by things we absolutely cannot control?
Well, here is the absolute game changer. The foundational key to surviving that panic is finding your grounding right in the middle of the chaos. The text makes a really powerful pivot here, acknowledging that, hey, when things get tough, you might need a spare hand. You might need to build up some more resilience. But, and this is absolutely crucial to everything we're exploring today, either way, you are intrinsically worthy. Your worth isn't tied to being totally self-sufficient 100% of the time. Even when you're struggling, you have fundamental value simply by existing.
Now we're looking at a super nuanced shift in self-discovery here. First, there's realizing your value as a person, right? That's your broad collective connection to humanity. But then comes the real turning point, realizing your value as an individual. That is where your personal agency kicks in. It's moving from knowing you matter in a general sense to realizing that your specific, unique mind and characteristics hold immense, focused power.
So you'd think that establishing this strong sense of value means you have to rigidly defend your beliefs no matter what, right? Actually, it's the exact opposite. The text introduces this brilliant paradox, unlearning. To truly grow in your individuality, you actually have to be willing to unlearn. It's having the flexibility to change when things get difficult. It's acknowledging that, hey, our values aren't actually set in stone. They need room to breathe, adapt, and respond to whatever unique challenges get thrown our way. So how do we pull this off? How do we unlearn and adapt? We have to lean into what the text calls an ethic of change. It's about actively promoting continuous movement in your life. But, and this is the key, pairing that movement with a deep, unwavering trust in your core beliefs. And the bridge between those two? Following a curious mind. Curiosity is literally the engine here. If you can stay curious, you stay completely whole in your pursuit of truth, even when the ground is shifting underneath you. But let's be real. Life isn't a smooth ride. No matter how adaptable or curious we are going to hit massive dilemmas where absolute certainty is just impossible. You'll find yourself staring down a path where one side gives you one answer and the other side is the complete and total opposite. Actually, scratch that. There isn't even a middle ground to compromise on. It's like trying to agree on a movie on a Friday night, but with incredibly high stakes and no clear formula for the right choice.
So, what do you do when certainty is off the table? Your true anchor becomes accountability. It's about valuing your own decision-making process enough to just stand by it. You recognize that, yeah, things are difficult, but you take ownership anyway. Accountability becomes your steadfast guide when this unpredictable world absolutely refuses to give you a clear map.
I absolutely love how the author puts this. It captures how we actually find our truth during those heavy moments of accountability. It's not about looking for a loud, triumphant victory or external applause. It's about finding your way home through a calm, internal whisper that just says, you did okay, move ahead. Isn't that powerful? It's that quiet validation that encourages us to keep going, trusting that doing our best with our current values is entirely enough.
We can actually map out these challenges using this great metaphor from the author about life being bumpy with bridges. Think of every major life challenge as a bridge. You've got your starting point, then you hit the inevitable bumps or dilemmas in the middle, and finally you reach the finishing point on the other side. And right before you step onto the next bridge, you realize you've gained a slightly deeper understanding of your own values just by surviving the crossing. It's a constant, ongoing cycle of practice.
As we keep crossing these bridges, it hits us, this incredibly powerful realization about our place in everything. The author writes, I am not separate from this phenomenon. I am part of these webs. And wow, what a shift in perspective. You aren't just a passive observer watching life happen, and you aren't just stuck in the middle getting battered around. You are an active, integral thread in the larger web of life.
Let's break that down a bit more, because within these webs, we have this fascinating dual nature. The text points out that we are both causing and affecting simultaneously. Yes, you are the result of the world around you. That's the affecting part. But you are also actively causing ripples outward with every single choice and action you take. You're a dynamic participant, shaping the very reality you live in.
And knowing this interconnectedness, it takes so much weight off your shoulders. The author realizes, I don't need force. You literally don't have to aggressively conquer the world or force your will upon it. You just need your values to keep your head held high, and you need to show up and take part. It's about taking quiet, steady responsibility for your rights and letting your internal principles lead the way instead of relying on brute strength.
Which brings us to the whole point of this journey. The unlearning, the dilemmas, the interconnectedness, it all builds to this bold declaration: valuing my values in action. Because at the end of the day, values aren't just thoughts sitting in your head. They're meant to be lived. They are verbs, guys. They require your active, daily participation.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought straight from the text's closing lines. The author has this revelation that tomorrow is fundamentally just a part of today, seeing the future as simply me in the present. So I'll ask you, if your future is actively being built by who you choose to be right now in this exact moment, how are you going to put your values into action today? Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring this with me. Take these ideas, test them on your own bridges, and keep learning.